Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Wholeness Wisdom Podcast. My name is Erin, and I am a holistic practitioner in the methods of wholeness and core transformation, which are methods that use the programming of our mind and our mental activity to dissolve our experience of separateness in the world. This ultimately leads to a greater sense of peace, freedom, especially freedom from habitual thinking. There's a lot more space in life. So the point of this podcast is to share with people tools and practices that we can bring these methods of experiencing ourselves as more free and more peaceful and less stuck in our thoughts to people as a free resource. And this is something that is possible to do in one's daily life without spending a lot of money or reading a lot of books. So this is what I hope to offer. In today's episode, I would like to talk about backlash, which I would characterize as when we've seen some transformation of our thinking patterns or our obsessive worry, or even a pattern like overeating potato chips in the evening. Say we've seen some progress through inner work of self-investigation, and then all of a sudden it's back. So I would call this backlash. And we have a saying in my community that backlash is a blessing. The reason that backlash is a blessing is that when we have something that kicks back at us, coming back, we are given like a double dose of opportunity to pause and find out, is this a recurring pattern that says something about who I am? Or is this a biologically driven pattern of control and survival that is just rearing up its ugly head in order for this sadhana or practice to continue? Another way of saying this is backlash is a deeper invitation. It's not just an envelope from the post person in my mailbox. It is someone knocking on my door with a tablet that I need to sign. It is a deeper invitation to investigate ourselves. So, an example that I could give of backlash of a behavior would be biting nails. So, we could say that somebody has worked for years to stop their nail biting habit. Say they've soaked their fingers in a spicy juice so that they don't like the taste or it hurts when they bite their nails. So they've gone through these methods of avoiding through a negative reinforcement. Then we could say that maybe they listened to recordings of hypnotists hypnotizing them into not biting their nails anymore. Say like they would feel really gross if they did. Another reinforcing through a negative stimulus. And then we could say that they went to a support group and they talked about how biting their nails made them feel really immature in public situations, and other people could commiserate and relate to their experience. So all of these methods of action to change this behavior. And then we could imagine that this person decided to try another way and to go through some self-investigation. So to find out, who is it that is experiencing this habit? Is it me? And then to investigate the me. And we could say that maybe this self-investigation practice wasn't to get rid of the nail biting, but it was just this sense of lack in one's life that they realized, I have all these habits, including biting my nails. I really want some meaning in my life, so I'm going to try to do some self-investigation. And then say this person has been working with the question of who am I, questioning the thoughts, is that me? And generally walking around questioning, am I limited to this physical body, or is what I think of as me, I, something else? Is this consciousness purely a physical experience, or is there something about the I, the consciousness or the awareness, that is unique and worth investigating? So we could imagine this person is doing self-investigation. as this person is doing self-investigation, maybe they're doing it in the morning instead of doing a guided meditation. They're doing more of a non-dual meditation, or they're doing a lot of body scans. And they notice that that anxiety that precedes the nail biting is starting to calm down. And they're just not biting their nails very much anymore. So that's changed. And we could say that this change has happened for about a month. They're biting their nails less. And then we could imagine this person, they get a promotion at work, and all of a sudden they're fighting this urge to bite their nails right in the middle of all these Zoom meetings with their new bosses. So this backlash of behavior is just right in their face. It's not changing. It's not moving. Maybe it's even back stronger than ever. This person could have the thought, oh, this self-investigation work is useless. It's just another self-help tool that is just not doing anything for me. What am I going to do? This is just so frustrating and hopeless. Or this person could say, the self-investigation is working. This is some egoic backlash. And the backlash can come in the form of those thoughts I just mentioned. This is hopeless. What I'm doing is pointless. This is just some hack that is just not working. That is the backlash. That is the ego. That is the story of who I am is broken. What I'm doing is impossible to overcome. And I need to either work harder or find some other force to change this. Basically wanting to throw self-investigation out the window as just some BS. And that is the backlash of the ego, essentially, because the death of the ego, or the dissolving of the sense of me that is very tight and contracted, has sometimes this explosion of energy. The explosion of energy it's fighting back. It's justifying its position as a valid part of our life experience. And the truth is that when people can live from an enlightened experience of awakened self, fullness, or presence, that sense of ego is not necessary to identify with. And when this backlash happens, what characterizes the backlash is the feeling that my fragmentation, my separated sense of self is real, is strong, and that is who I am. And it can feel so convincing that any efforts to change our behaviors or our habits is fruitless. There's often this very strong need to do something, and also this soft, hopeless kind of crumbling, melting into the ground. And that's the same thing. And the reason that I think backlash is so great is that, like I said, it is a delivery person that's not just putting an envelope in the mailbox, but it's coming all the way to the front door, it's knocking on the door, and it's not leaving till it gets a signature. And what we can do with this is we can refuse to give our signature. We can refuse to co-sign that story. What we do with backlash is we just recognize it as saliva from the salivary glands. It is just a production from the biology that is just happening in a biological way, and it doesn't mean anything. The thing about backlash is that it often feels so dramatic, so much gravity around it, like a black hole, that the story feels more convincing than another story of, like, fantasizing what I'm going to wear to this concert that I'm going to at the end of the week. The backlash is no more real or strong or rooted in reality than that fantasy of an outfit to the concert. It can make itself seem that it is more real because it's so contracted, or it's so dense, or the gravity is so strong. And we don't need to treat it any other way. We don't need to give it some special application. We don't have to read a special book about it. We don't have to go, you know, shake our bodies violently to get that extra energy out. We just identify it as purely what it is, which is a thought. And when we can bring awareness to what feels like an earth-shattering experience, we can bring awareness to it by simply witnessing and saying, this story is just thoughts. And that behavior of nail biting that came back is just nail biting. And it doesn't mean there's a historical gravity to it. It doesn't mean that it's shattering my future. The meaning that I'm giving this experience of nail biting returning is the backlash of the ego. And the stories that compound and settle down onto the new behavior are what actually perpetuates that behavior, because it's the belief in that program being inevitable that is perpetuating it. And when we are believing in inevitability, we are putting faith into an idea as being solid. And when we really look at it, when we really look at what a particle is on a microscopic level, when we go to the quantum realm, we see there is nothing solid. And so it is absolute crazy fantasy, imaginary hell to be putting our faith in an idea as something that is solid. Because when we know that even what appears to be solid is actually fluid, then when we're believing an idea to be solid, that belief is such a hell realm that it manifests as behaviors we don't like. So essentially, we can begin dealing with backlash by losing interest in the meaning that we're giving it. And the reason that I'm talking about this today is because it's January. And at least in my country, the United States, people put so much meaning on the first of the year. They put so much meaning into the first of the year because they're deeming it a new start. They're deeming it an easy time to remember when a behavior was changed, or a new commitment was made, or a new phase in life was embarked upon. It's putting a lot of meaning into that number. And because this is a culturally accepted practice, it's basically in the soup. It's in the community. People are really embodying their belief in the new year, holding a significance of meaning for them to change something about themselves. And when we are culturally steeped in that belief of this solid idea that we need to change something, it's contagious. And also it engenders backlash. It brings backlash in upon with it. So whether it's something for you that has to do with a career or the next step in your life, or what this new year you're really trying to do more of, or be more, or read more books, or be more social, or join more clubs, or lose weight, eat a better diet, take more supplements, have better hair. It could be all kinds of things. And it could also be unconscious. It could be this low level feeling of, I need to be doing more. I need to be doing more. I want to be learning more. I want to be enrolling in all these courses. So I'm pointing this out because backlash comes hand in hand with this meaning of the first of the year. And we can fortify, we can prepare for backlash by putting less meaning into the significance of a certain date, or the significance of chunks of time. Because time is a useful fiction. It's useful for me to be able to meet my friend at the cafe at the same hour of the day, so we're on the same page, and that scheduling can work. But when it comes down to our worth as a being on this planet, time is really irrelevant. A lot of people put significance into time and calendars and timelines and achievements. And this month of January, for some reason, really takes a lot of that energy from people And we can just acknowledge it through awareness of cultural meanings of time and our own personal pressures that we put on ourselves. And we can just let some of that pressure release. If any of you have a pressure cooker or an Instant Pot, you could know that you can just move the little dial and let a little bit of that pressure out at a time. And we can do this in a really simple way by simply being aware of the thought. And when I say be aware of the thought, we just recognize the thought is an object. So just like this, phone is a physical object. A thought is a mental object. So we can see the thought, oh, I really want to maintain this diet this week and this month because this is my year. I can go, that's an object. Thought is an object. And what does it weigh? Nothing. What is the meaning of that? Nothing. It is lighter than air. And by being the awareness of thought, when backlash happens, which it might, it's very common in our process of self-investigation, we're already almost in the pattern of being the awareness of thoughts. It's already something that we've been doing, so it's a little more natural to be the awareness of the backlash thoughts if we're already being aware of the thought about my time and my schedule and my changes that I want to be making. So I hope this talk about backlash and acknowledging backlash, being aware of it and what it is and how it really doesn't mean anything is useful for you today. And it's really good to be here with you again, talking about these topics that are really relevant for our experience of feeling worthy and whole and useful in this society, and to be able to show up as ourselves, healthy and present with others, feeling connected, and really just showing up as ourselves. When there's not all the fogginess and cloudiness around what we are and who we are, we can really contribute to this world in a very beneficial way. So I hope to see you next week. And just a reminder that on January 24th, Eastern Time, 12 p.m., my friend and I are holding a book club, which is free to the public. All you have to do is read the book, and there's an audiobook online. It's called More Than Allegory, and it's investigating belief, truth, and the presence of myth in our society. And there's an actual work of fiction at the end, the last 60 pages, which is extremely entertaining, really hard to put down. I've read it many, many times, and I recommend this book to more people than any other book that I recommend. It's called More Than Allegory by Bernardo Kastrup. And you can find the link on the website, wholenesswisdom.com/book. And there you could find the link to the Zoom meeting, again, 12 p.m., January 24th, Eastern Time. It's a Friday. And we would just love to be with you there so we can discuss the insights that are gleaned from this really easy read that is very timely in our society now, with so much division, and wondering how we can show up and contribute and really be this peace or change that we want in the world. So thanks again for joining me on this Wholeness Wisdom podcast. And I look forward to talking with you next week. Please subscribe to get the message out to other people who I would love to reach. And also like this and comment if you please. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.